This entire situation has turned the Dragon Ball universe upside down on its head, but you guys are loving the controlled chaos, so I'm gonna keep it going. An unprecedented birth reshaped history and set into motion a series of events that led to a celestial war between the angels and the Saiyans. It's an abnormal event, and the one responsible for it is an absolute anomaly himself. A new warrior that has set the spirit of the multiverse ablaze. He's the place of the infinite, descendant of stars, proof of the inconceivable even. Someone whose very existence is an act of rebellion, a being that cannot be contained, and an ambition that demands resistance. Even the great Grand Priest couldn't hold himself from saying the words, "Fate works in strange ways." Deep down, the Grand Priest knows how the multiverse works. It occasionally brings in something new and cleanses itself of the old. Maybe the birth of this man signifies the downfall of the Grand Priest himself. Only time is gonna tell, but for better or worse, this is the saga of the current Saiyan King of Universe 13, King Gogito. And this is gonna be a start of series 2 of our What If Gogeta and Vegito Fuse series. So if you haven't seen part 1, that is gonna be linked down below in the comments and up on the screen right now, so be sure to go check that out. As for the story up until this point, well, we've already seen the conception of King Gogito, how he was able to pretty much revive the entire Saiyan race and create his own army, and why the Grand Priest and the God Realm is after him. But what we don't know is what's going on in Gogito's own head. Why he decided to use Omni Precognition to avoid getting defeated by the Grand Priest even after it had already happened. How he decided to conveniently use the existence of the timeless domain to channel his energy throughout the history of the multiverse. How he rewrote the Saiyan DNA itself, and how he revived a dead universe back into existence. All of this and more is about to get explained here. So when Goku and Vegeta from two alternate realities, the Vegito timeline and the Gogeta timeline, were summoned into the timeless domain created by the Grand Priest, the intention was to understand the phenomenon of divergence in Universe 7. Why does one timeline have Gogeta while the other has Vegito? They were summoned as Vegito and Gogeta, but during the slugfest with the Destroyers, the two decided to fuse and become Gogito. And it gave them an almost infinite boost in power. I mean, this is now Ultra Gogito we're talking about. This instantly breaks the timeless domain and resumes the flow of time. Goku's power combined with another Goku's power, and then Vegeta's with another Vegeta's, and then the fusion itself, and so on and so forth. You guys get it. A simpler way to refer to it would be an infinitely compounding loop. The only reason it happened is because the Grand Priest allowed them to be in the timeless domain at the same time. Ordinarily, it was something that would have never happened, but it did, and that's why the results are so extraordinary. King Gogito would absolutely steamroll the Destroyers and then faces off against the Grand Priest, but loses all of that steam after entering the serene Super Saiyan White state, and the fusion would dissolve. It wouldn't have diffused if he didn't break the flow of time, however, and he wouldn't have broken the flow of time if he was predetermined to be in the timeless domain. He was sort of an outside force who broke the way things were supposed to be, but this is where it got interesting. Although this happened, the Gogito from a few moments ago decided to not go through with this sequence of motion. He improvised based on his knowledge of the next moment and appropriated his actions. Well then, how do I stop myself from diffusing, Gogito wonders, but his brain cells were already pretty much on steroids. But keep in mind, this is all happening in the span of seconds. But Gogito knew exactly what to do. Suddenly, this guy lets his energy seep out throughout the entire history of the multiverse, and it's easily doable because he has access to all times and all spaces in the multiverse because of where they are right now. History is rewritten. The moment where Yamoshi first transforms into the legendary Super Saiyan gets hijacked, and Gogito allows him to evolve into a Super Saiyan God. In doing so, the Saiyans effectively became the strongest race. Almost 10 centuries later, Bardock would destroy the last of the Frost Demons. Broly would be born with the single most powerful disposition ever recorded in Saiyan history, but King Vegeta wouldn't be insecure this time. A great celebration would take place, and the king himself labels Broly as the promised boy. But way before this happened, and even before Yamoshi, there was a time in history when the first Saiyan cell emerged into existence. Gogeto's energy connects with that point in time and establishes him as the father of the Saiyan race. That's right, Gogito rewrote history and made himself the progenitor of his own race. Now, he was no longer just a fusion. He was a completely separate individual and one whose DNA exists in every single Saiyan alive from that point on. Alright, with this I should never have to worry about diffusion ever again, Gogito proudly exclaims, but then immediately heads out of the domain. He would then use his spatial awareness to gather up the Super Dragon Balls and summon Super Shenron. He knows that his energy has revived a dead universe, and so he now asks Super Shenron to escalate the evolutionary mechanisms of this place so that he can then use this as his own separate realm, completely independent of the sovereignty of the Grand Priest or Zeno. Super Shenron is stunned, but he would oblige. But cooperation does not mean absence of concern. The great dragon god Zalama was immediately informed of this development by the dragon. So he appeared before Gogeta and asked him one simple thing: why? But Gogito simply replied, why not? Zalama liked this response. He knows that the desire to be independent of the Grand Priest and Zeno isn't anything unusual. Quite a lot of exceptional individuals have wished for that same thing, but unlike Gogito, they wanted to take over. They wanted Super Shenron to just hand over the authority of the multiverse to them, but this of course simply just wasn't possible, and upon being found out, they all perished. Zalama would then accompany Gogito to the 13th universe, relabeled as the Saiyans realm now that it's matured in accordance with his liking. This is when Gogito would then ask him to teach him an all-powerful summoning skill, but Zalama wasn't quite in the mood. However, he would oblige when Gogito asked him nicely. Then, after learning this new summoning technique, Gogito would use his updated memory to summon strong Saiyans from all timelines. Some of these timelines were similar to the first one, while some were completely different. Once tens of thousands of strong Saiyans had been summoned, Gogito then used Force Spirit Fission to converge everyone's life force with their alternate parts. And just like that, all versions of a certain someone now exist as one. For example, Goku evolves into Xeno Goku after becoming one with countless other alternate selves. However, there was one timeline that remained unaffected by Gogito's ploys. He was unable to change the first timeline, aka the original timeline of the multiverse. The Goku and Vegeta who participated as Vegito in the fusion exist in this timeline. These two are the only ones who experienced a significant boost in their power after what Gogito did, simply because they are quite literally a part of him. Other than them, the history and the other Saiyans remained the same as they were before. Gogito quite liked this though. He knew that the first Goku and the first Vegeta are the only ones befitting to be his right and left hand. So he asked Zalama to go and invite them to come here. Zalama couldn't be bothered, but once again obliges when Gogito asks him nicely. He goes all the way to Universe 7. And it wasn't just Goku and Vegeta who were taken aback by his sudden appearance. Whis and Beerus kinda want an explanation on what's happening here too. So Zalama basically tells them that the multiverse is going through a period of great change and Gogito is only a piece of the puzzle. No one can stop this change, not even the Grand Priest or Zeno for that matter, because the multiverse knows who to rule itself. Well, without the need for too much more explanation, Goku and Vegeta very excitedly accompany Zalama to the Saiyans realm. The image of Gogito could be seen from beyond the cosmos. Gogito was using projection. He wanted other universes to feel the presence of his realm. He opens up a path which leads them to the throne room, and after a quick exchange of greetings, Gogito asks Goku and Vegeta to fight their Xeno selves. It was tough. I mean, their Xeno selves could use Super Saiyan 4. They could also use advanced variations of Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego together with their Super Saiyan forms. At first, Goku and Vegeta would get absolutely smoked, as they should, but after 3 minutes of excessive beating, they experience a sudden metamorphosis themselves. Yeah, it's true that their DNA had advanced thanks to Gogito's meddling, but it hadn't properly meshed with their current existence yet. However, their Xeno selves would give them the Zenkai boost necessary to go even further beyond this. It allows them and their powers to explode out of proportions. Goku and Vegeta become absurdly strong here. Meanwhile, The Grand Priest had summoned the Supreme Kais, the Destroyers, and the Angels of the 12 Universes to the palace. And things would escalate very quickly when future Zeno proposes a war between the Angels and the Saiyans. He said it so nonchalantly, but as the Omni King, his word is absolute. In the wake of all of this, the Grand Priest would make a personal appearance in the Saiyan throne room at a level of speed that's still beyond what Gogito can do, at least at this point. The Grand Priest would then declare war on the Saiyan realm. It certainly doesn't take long for Gogito to determine that this is unavoidable now, but in a weird way, this is kind of what he wanted. While Zalama continues to make it clear that he isn't a part of any of this, just a mere observer. Now, while all of the Saiyans thought that the Grand Priest would just excuse himself after this declaration of war, what they didn't know is that the Grand Priest army was already on its way. A little frightening seeing just how much faster the Grand Priest is over all of the other angels, but within a few moments, the throne room is swarmed by angels, and we're talking about numbers that actually go beyond 12. Gogito was honestly enjoying this stunning display of angels. It was almost artistic in a sense, but then he would pinch his fingers, snap, and then his own army would arrive. Yamoshi, the legendary Super Saiyan, the promised boy Broly, the awakened beast Gohan, Trunks, Gotenks, Bardock, Saiyans from each and every timeline, every single universe in existence, and their counterparts. They were all here fighting under King Gogito, but that's not all. There was still one Saiyan here that made things a little uneasy. Not counting the other Saiyans that appeared, there's one face that stood out, and it was someone who only existed in a singular timeline, an anomaly amidst anomalies, but he was strong enough to attract Gogito and the Grand Priest's attention. This man's name is Zykor. So don't quote me on this exactly, but there's a saying that the real deal is born strong. While most Saiyans will die before ever reaching Super Saiyan, Zykor was born as a Super Saiyan 5. As for the other four, we have Goku, Vegeta, Xenogoku, and Xenovegeta. This would sum up 12 mortal warriors, and they would go up against the 12 angels that watch over the other 12 universes. But what Gogito doesn't know and didn't consider at the time is that the existence of his new universe also brought forth the existence of a new angel, one strong enough to subdue any and all inhabitants of this universe, or at least that's what the Grand Priest thinks. Gogito knew something like this may happen. He kind of foresaw it coming, but rather than revealing his secret friend on the stage, he chooses to keep him hidden. So just like how this angel isn't present yet, a certain someone is also not present, despite the fact that a celestial war has just broken out between the angels and the Saiyans. He lived most of his life beyond the multiverse in a place called Universe Zero. Born from the first Yamoshi, he thrived for millions of years without ever learning that his race is still alive and well outside of Universe Zero. One would think that Gogito isn't supposed to mess with Universe Zero, however, not even Zalama owns that place. If you're strong and you want something, you just take it. Gogito knows that in order to be the father of all Saiyans, he cannot neglect Universe Zero. Sooner or later, he'll have no choice but to visit the Saiyan lion Shishido and ask him to participate as the 13th warrior. He was aware of Shishido's desire to belong and wanted to answer it. How and why did he acquire this knowledge? Well, it was thanks to Zalama. The one who saved Shishido's life back when he suddenly showed up in Universe Zero as a newborn was Zalama. Shishido was almost 8 million years old now though, and he may be the only Saiyan in existence who can still give Gogito a run for his money, but if this 13th angel is already predestined to be stronger than anyone in the Saiyans realm, Gogito is going to need Shishido to stay out of it for the time being. Soon enough, the Zeno duo arrives and the war between the angels who have reigned supreme for billions of years and Saiyans, the ultimate warrior race, would begin. The angels are the challengers, or should I say the invaders, and if the Saiyans win, they'll take over the angels realm, but if the angels win, the Saiyans realm will fall under the Grand Priest's jurisdiction. The tension would begin to boil over, but this is when an almost manic look would overcome Zykor's face and he would make the first move. Zykor, using speed unfathomable, disappears and then reappears in front of an angel before his after image even dissolves and lands a disgustingly powerful punch on this angel, instantly knocking him unconscious. And with that first strike, the war has officially begun. Gogito walks forth, and then together with Goku and Vegeta, they unleash their Super Saiyan White transformation together. If becoming the king is what it takes to prove that my people are stronger, then sure. I have no problem being the king then, Gogito declares as he orders all of his Saiyans to advance at once, and they would all proceed under that command of their new King Gogito as the Saiyan versus Angel war officially begins.